I wish I could say this day began like all the others, but it did not, not even close. It started with a message, one line from my father, short, mired, heavy. We need to talk about her and this wedding. I knew that tone too well. It was not joy, it was not anticipation, it was worry or worse, quite disapproval. For weeks I did been planning this wedding with a heart that could barely contain its excitement. Every song, every meal, every teeny detail carried her in it, from the way the chairs would face the sunset to the flowers she once mentioned loving as a child. It all revolved around her. She was everything I had hoped for, gentle yet strong, calm yet full of depth. No matter what anyone else saw, I had seen her heart first, but from the start I could tell my dad never fully relaxed around her. He was not rude, he was not unkind, he just observed like a man waiting for a reason to say, I told you so. And now that moment had arrived. I called him, and before he even spoke, I heard it, that deep sign that always came before a hard truth. He began carefully choosing his words like they might shatter something fragile. Then he said it, I don't think she is the one for you. My chest tightened. He did not raise his voice, but his words cut deep because they did not just question her, they questioned me. I asked him why, and he gave me an answer I will never forget. She is not like us. She was not brought up the same way. She sees life too differently. I am just afraid those differences might divide you later. He was not saying she was strong, she was wrong. He was saying she was different, but that difference, that spark of thought, that way she moved through the world on her own terms, that's exactly what drew me to her. When he said, she is not like us, I went quiet, not from anger, but because I needed to breathe. There were so many things I wanted to say, but when it's your father questioning the person you love most, every word becomes a minefield. Finally, I asked, what does not like us even mean? He paused, searching for the right explanation. Then he said, it's the way she speaks, her mind, even when it makes people uncomfortable, the way she does not follow tradition just because they are expected. She challenges things, questions things, even in front of family, even in front of me. She is smart, but sometimes it feels like she is not trying to belong, like she does not want to be one of us. And in that moment, it hit me. He did not want her to love me loudly. He wanted her to fit in quietly. But I never wanted quiet love. I wanted someone who brought no colors into my world, who made me think differently, who did not just blend in to be accepted, but stood beside me, fearless and full of her own voice. I told him I was not chasing a love that came warped in approval. I was chasing something real and I had found it in her. He did not argue, he just looked tired and said, I just don't want you to regret this. Later, I understood he was not trying to want me, he was trying to protect me the only way he knew how, by steering me toward what he believed was safe. But safety is not always right, and difference is not always danger. The rest of that day felt heavy. It was like I was walking forward, carrying not only my dreams but also his doubts. I did not tell her immediately, not because I was unsure of her, but because I did not want to repeat my father's fear out loud and let it poison what we had built. But that night she sensed in any way she always did when she asked that what was wrong. I told her not to burden her, not to make her question herself, but because from the very beginning I had promised her one thing: honesty, even when it hurts. She listened quietly, no tears, no anger, just calm eyes and a stillness that carried strength. Then she said something I will never forget. I would not shrink myself to make anyone else feel comfortable. Those words hit deep. She was not being defiant, she was being true because real love does not ask you to become smaller just to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. She said she had known this road would not be easy, that people might call her too direct, too strong, too different. Then she added something that broke me open inside. I never needed your family to understand me right away. I just needed you to understand beside me while they tried. That's when it struck me. This was not about my dad's opinion anymore. This was about me. Was I ready to stand for what I chose, to defend it with grace and conviction? After she went to bed, I sat alone for hours, replaying everything: my father's voice, our words, and the silence between them. I asked myself the hardest questions of all: was I ready to fight for a love that others did not fully understand? Because that's what true love often demands, not comfort but courage. The next morning, I went to see my dad, not to argue but to speak from clarity, not emotion. He sat across from me, his face unreadable, like a man torn between love and fear. I told him, you raised me to think for myself, to do what's right, not what's easy, to stand up for people even when it's unpopular. That's exactly what I am doing now. I am choosing her not because she is flawless, but because she is real, and because with her I am more myself than I have ever been. Something in his eyes softened, not full agreement, but a flicker of recognition. After a moment, he asked quietly, "You really love her, don't you?" I nodded, and for the first time, I said it without hesitation. "Yes, I love her deeply." He looked away, exhaled, not in frustration this time, but in surrender, like he finally realized that this was not rebellion, it was choice, it was love, and instead of replaying with another argument, he simply said, "If you are standing with her with your whole heart, then I would not stand in your way." That sentence changed everything. He did not blast it outright, but he gave me as something even more meaningful. With respect, I did not need him to love her instantly. I just needed him to trust me, to believe that I had seen her at her highest and her lowest, her furious and her gentle, and still choose her completely. When I told her about our conversation, she just smiled softly. "He's not against us anymore," I said. She nodded and replied, "That's enough for now. Let's keep walking." And that's when I knew I was not marrying a woman who needed the world's approval. I was marrying someone who could stand tall, even in silence, who could find peace without a pulse, who could love without needing permission. The weeks before the wedding felt lighter, not perfect, but clearer. My dad did not suddenly become talkative or overly affectionate, but he showed up quietly, steadily. He started asking small questions about the food, the ceremony, the arguments, not to control, but to understand. It was his own quiet way of saying, "I am trying," and that effort meant more than any grand gestures. She noticed too. One evening she said, "He may never say the words, but showing up, that's his way of saying he sees us." She could have healed on to resentment, but she did not. She met his effort with quiet grace. Because that's who she is. She does not demand love, she gives space for it to grow, and in that space, something shifted. There was one evening when the three of us sat outside together, the air soft and still. Dad looked at her and said, "You are different, but I can see why he loves you." She just smiled, but I knew what that moment meant. It was not small, it was a bridge. 2 days before the wedding, he called me into the old living room, the one filled with memories of childhood. He started at a photo of me, a little boy, missing two teeth, full of innocence. "You are not the boy anymore," he said quietly. Then he turned to me. "I was wrong about her. Not because I have figured her out completely, but because I can see what she brings out in you. You are calmer, no more grounded, more sure. I could not speak, my throat closed up. Then he said something that felt like a blessing wrapped in simplicity. I will stand by you both. And that was it. No speeches, no dramatic apology, just truth, because love does not always win through arguments or explanations. Sometimes it wins through patience, through showing up, through hearts softening over time. My dad did not need her to be like us anymore. He just needed to see how much I loved her and how much she loved me back, and in the end, that was enough.